course.
Okay, so thank you so much for being on this roundtable this early. Well, actually, it's not that early for you folks. It is December 2nd, and we will start with Dustin for professional introductions.
Good morning. My name is Dustin Drunn. I am a 50-year-old divorced father of 3. I'm a realtor by profession, but I'm a positive mindset and inspirational thinking coach. I help people get out of their own way and help people live an abundance-filled life, spiritually, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally every day, as long as they need help. So I'm sorry, I'm getting a text. I'm like getting distracted. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Dustin. Peter.
Hi, my name is Peter Hobler, and I am married to my incredible wife, Lori. We have 4 adult children and a 9-year-old grandson. And my entire life, my passion has been travel. I have loved to travel. So I am now bringing travel to you. Your memories mean the world to us at Love to Travel. So reach out, let us help design a world-class lifetime memory trip for you.
Thank you, Peter. Keith.
Hi, my name is Keith Wieben. I live in Columbus, Indiana. And I am also the principal and founder of Level 3 by Design. Through my company, I help leaders who have an employee engagement problem. I help them learn how to solve employee engagement, also elevate performance in multiple ways through brief interactions.
Thank you, Keith. And I am Karen Gibson, all the way from Mililani, Hawaii. I'm a parent coach with Letting Go with Aloha, and I help parents navigate that wonderful parenting journey, raising resilient, respectful, and responsible children. I'm also a tutor, started that in 1999, called Brain Builders, and I help kids succeed in and out of the classroom. We are working on module 3, and I wanted to focus on, Coach B calls it MVT, which is most vital tasks, as well as workflow. So why don't we share how you define workflow, and how do you know if you are effective and efficient, during those moments where we think, wait a minute, something's up with my workflow, depending on what's going on. We'll start with Peter. What do you think workflow means to you in your business, and how do you know if you're effective and efficient?
Well, having just recently stepped into a new transition, I'm still determining some of that. But in a nutshell, with preparing for launch, which I'm aiming for December 15th, just making sure I'm making progress, and I have my list of most vital things all set out for me. So at the end of the day, when I look at the list for what I needed to achieve that day, did I achieve it? And that's the bottom line. And how much closer am I getting to actually launching?
Can you share?
Go ahead.
Sorry?
And how do I feel about it? How do I feel
Yes.
about what I've done that day? That's important.
Can you share one specific task that is on your workflow today?
Sure. Actually, I've got like 5 meetings today, so my workflow is not going to get a lot done, but between PT and everything else. So connecting with my contact from Sandals Resorts. We've been playing phone tag. She's not very good apparently at returning phone calls, but I want to make sure I connect with her today because I have a lot of questions. I want to get my website co-branded with Sandals so I can put that link on my personal website so people have a place, boom, to go and book where I get credit. So that's an important stepping stone for that.
Yeah. Keith, how do you define workflow, and how do you know if you're effective?
So number one is I have an introductory session. And in my introductory session, I help leaders elevate engagement and performance through brief interactions. And I teach them one specific way. And when they follow through and take action, something do 2 to 5 minutes each workday, and they experience benefits, then I know that I'm effective. But I'm also in a podcast. I've launched a podcast, and I'm still trying to figure it out, what I'm doing. And I believe that by helping the people that are guests on my podcast be successful, that I'm also learning and elevating my skill in marketing.
So if you are unable to, like, say you have your podcast and whoever you're scheduled to interview, if that doesn't happen due to a conflict in schedule, how does that affect like your mental workflow? Because it, you know, if you need to have this, and this happen, and it for some reason it doesn't, how do you like pivot and handle that?
Well, I've got to set my priorities. And so my number one priority is my own clients, people that I work with. And my number two priority is my podcast.
Great, thank you. So Dustin, what does your workflow look like, and how do you know if you're effective and efficient?
Well, first off, my workflow started yesterday. So, you know, the things that you do today are the things that you scheduled yesterday to do today. So it's all about being organized and making sure that you set yourself up from the jump, from start of the day, to make sure that you're prepared mentally to go down the list of things that you need to get done. For me today, I'm in the middle of an inspection for a house right now. While I'm doing that, I'm having my call with you guys. As soon as this is done, then my buyers are going to be here and I have to go through the house with them. But then after that, I have a lunch with a lender. Then after that, I have to deliver some property over to one of my other clients. Then after that, I'm going to a holiday party. So my workflow is just checking things off of boxes, and how I feel about that is, and part of my workflow too is figuring out what I'm going to do tomorrow. So, you know, in the beginning of the week or whatever, I'm trying to like chunk things in and put things together in like in sections where, you know, I'm not just going day by day or whatever. And sometimes you have to pivot throughout your day and, you know, fit things into, you know, well, this won't work at this time, I can do it. And we all do that, but, you know, just being as efficient as I can. And how do I know if I've done it? Well, I know if it's been a successful day, if I've, you know, at least been able to eliminate 75, 80, 90% off my list, so I can make room for myself for the next day and the next day and whatever. So that's how I know if my workflow is being effective, is if I'm able to cross things off my list and make room for more things on, you know, down the road. So
Thank you for sharing that. I'm just curious, do any of you have is it an electronic calendar? Do you folks do it on like, I don't know, I'm just the old fashioned, I need to have my little planner thing, because I've heard too many times. You do, you use electronic then? What about you, Peter?
I use Outlook, yeah.
Do the rest of you also use electronic?
I use electronic, and I sync it with my scheduler.
Peter?
Yeah, for all of my regular things like producing content, posting content, weekly meetings, that's all electronic. For my daily most vital tasks, I write those down manually.
So I'm curious to know, how do you know how like my mom passing has really affected my productivity, but I realize that I love how you throw in the holiday party, Dustin. I think a lot of us are just so achievement oriented. We need to make sure that we accomplish these tasks. I mean, I do. So I had to do, you know, professional tasks plus like order, earn, make sure the flowers are picked up, make sure that, you know, so today is like thank you notes, which I didn't do yesterday. How do you handle your workflow when unexpected, not really emergencies, but something happens that, and it could just be as simple as an argument. It could be as simple as something that you really counted on that doesn't go through. Like Dustin, if a buyer decides, you know what, and I'm, you know, we're going to just pull out. I know everything is, we were supposed to close today or something happens. With Keith, what happens if, well, this happened to me. You're about to do a podcast and like the internet shuts down, or you have difficulty, you know, any of these challenges that appear when it's the last thing you need, you know. I'll start off with Peter. What, and it does deal with mindset, right? How do you mentally not let it get to you when you know that something tragic or maybe just challenging takes
Yeah,
place?
well, I think there's a difference between challenging and tragic. I mean, day-to-day things like the internet going out, you can't help it. There's nothing you can do about it. So I know when I get upset about something, it's gonna make it worse. It's not gonna help resolve the situation. So using that example, the internet going down, let's say I have an interview with someone, I'll just simply call them and say, hey, the internet's down. We're gonna have to reschedule. Why don't we have, a brief conversation now instead? And then we can further prepare for what we were going to talk about. If it's something else, say an emergency, and I've got to leave the house
Yeah.
for something, or like right now, I'm doing physical therapy twice a week. So, today I had 10 o'clock with Keith. I'm here at noon. I've got 2:30 physical therapy. I've got a 5 o'clock with someone that Coach V wanted me to connect with. So it's like, I'm not getting nearly as much done in my office, which initially was like, oh crap. I mean, I was upset, I was frustrated. It's like, okay, that's not going to work. So instead, I shifted my focus. So I was reviewing the notes from our Tuesday session with Coach V before I came on here today, and just making the most of that time. I mean, I had about 30 minutes. That wasn't enough time to really delve into work and really get focused and really be productive. So I shifted to the self-growth time that I try and commit to every day. But really, it's just creating a mental shift for me.
You know what the
And
mental shift for me though, I had a 2-day parent summit. So I had people from the UK and from Australia and
Mm.
Canada and here and right when the parent summit started, we had an island-wide like internet
wow.
just shut down. But then we pivoted. Deslin was there, Mela was there, and we decided to I think we used data. My husband had it, but it's in the midst of it, when you have all these people attending, you think, oh, it's just the internet. But when something, when you plan something like that, I couldn't just say, hey, can we reschedule the summit? Any ideas on what you would do if you have like a major event? That ever happened? Like Keith, what would you do? You have maybe like a live podcast or something that involves, it's a big thing. You plan for it for months and months, just out of curiosity. How do you change that mental mindset and kind of remain calm?
Well, what comes to my mind is I would plan in advance for what would happen. So I alert people just in case something goes wrong. Let's do a plan B. And the plan B is whatever it is.
We
That's
actually
what
did
comes to
that.
my
Yeah,
mind.
we did. We were going to go on Instagram Live, because this did happen before, but I thought it was my birthday. What's the chances of it going down the second that the summit started? It was kind of funny in retrospect. Okay, so Dustin, I just had so what would happen if you had have you ever had that? Like a major, it doesn't have to be tragic, but just something that really affects your workflow.
Well, I mean, I like what Keith said about having a plan B. I think, well, off topic for a second, I think, Tony Robbins always says that, the thing that people lack sometimes isn't resources, it's resourcefulness.
Yes.
So trying to find being resourceful. In an instance of what you're talking about, I guess, I mean, there's got to be an old school way, or at least a way to communicate with the people that you're trying to communicate with. If it's not the internet, maybe you call somebody else who, okay, well, I guess in your instance, I would call someone that wasn't in the area that did have the internet and say, hey, someone needs to jump on here and explain what's going on, or step up in my stead and whatever, or at least make the announcement, hey, I'm having some internet technical difficulties here.
Mm-hmm.
Can we reschedule this to whatever? But finding a way around it is using the people that in the context that you have. I'll use an example of myself. Like yesterday, an agent wanted to meet me at the house, at this other house that I was showing, or that she wanted to meet me, and I couldn't get there in time. At the same time that she needed to be there. So I had to call another agent in our team and say, hey, can you step over there, and I'll be there shortly. But, and they were able to do it. So, but you just have to be able to find, like I said, other resources that are available to you somehow. And every situation is different, but I think just finding a way to communicate with someone. And I know we all get really dependent on technology these days, and it's difficult when you're so, like, if I didn't have this phone, I would have had to, like, right now I'm in my car, zooming from my phone. I was thinking how I'm going to do this from the house. I can, my phone's a hotspot. I can use my phone for my computer and do it from there. So anyway, it's just, you find a way, and as long as you get the message across and you're communicating or whatever, I think in that way, then I think your workflow doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get done.
That's what I realized. It doesn't have to be perfect. We did have a plan B. Kauai, the island of Kauai, had internet, so I had made Mello and Deslin co-hosts. But when Deslin played the videos, her area just shut down. But then Mello, who was in another part of Kauai, it just worked out. But yeah, I've tutored using Instagram DM. I've done algebra, and it's amazing how in the midst of chaos, you just find something. And I think if we're open to, we are going to figure it out. Like the students, audio is out. I'll do the audio via phone, but then we'll look at each other, and then we'll do, it's amazing that technology, or even mindset, right? Mindset really helps us just come up with plan B, even in the midst of it. If plan B doesn't work, then you have kind of like a plan C. So, So Keith, I'm sorry. I have to take my daughter to the airport soon. My mom's burial is tomorrow. I just went kind of blank, but, and I only have 3 of you. I'm gonna did everyone share? I just went blank. I said, you know what, I'm gonna remember.
We did.
So my last question is, and this is part of module 3, describe your gifts. Each of us, and I know some of them are new passions, like Peter, you just switched to the travel, which I'm really, I think this is one of everyone needs that, the travel and building memories through, adventures. Describe your personal gifts and how do you use them? We'll go with Keith first.
So my gifts are actually skills that I've honed, but they began many years ago. So the first gift that I discovered was something that I was sensitive. And because I was sensitive, I was became easily able to step into other people's shoes and see how they picture the world. And I first then learned how to be an active listener at a crisis intervention volunteer and also a trainer. And then once I did that, I discovered that simply by listening, that you can actually have a therapeutic effect. And I thought I wanted to become a therapist. And then I went to graduate school. And in graduate school, I studied constructivism epistemology. And today I blend everything that I've learned. And I teach leaders how to elevate engagement and performance through brief interactions in multiple ways.
Wow. Yeah, I did a little exercise that Keith taught me about the 2 to 5 minutes gratitude. And it's amazing how something so short, right? You just incorporate 2 minutes of gratitude, 2 minutes, and I was incorporating it with my family. And I thought, it's amazing how something so simple, can be life-changing. So thank you, Keith, for that. Destin, yeah, it's interesting. We should share a gift that you had like prior to what you're doing now, because I didn't know that about you, Keith. Destin, what gifts do you think you originally, discovered about yourself, maybe like 20 years ago, or, when you first started?
Like Keith, I think my ability to hear people, and listen to people, like not just, and kind of read between the lines. I think people communicate, and I can kind of, be empathetic and empathic a little bit, understanding where they're coming from and their feelings about what they're saying. And if I'm not sure, then I'm able to communicate with them, like, even if I'm not sure, like, okay, I think I hear what you're saying, but tell me if I'm wrong, whatever, just repeat it back to them to the point where I get it. But also, I'm really good at getting people, one of the things on the W10 thing is winning hearts and minds. And I think I'm really good at that. I think people like me right off the bat. I think sometimes I can be a little bit much, but I think they can tell that I have a good heart and I'm coming from a good place. So I think I'm able to convey that to most people that I talk to. They get it. I think I have this is going to sound weird. I think I have this radiant light around me that kind of shows up and people pick up on that. So I guess that's my gift.
Amazing. I don't know why. I know it's gender biased, but I've never met, it's like all of you folks. I have, that empathy that I think, unfortunately, a lot of men are, it's just what is it? I guess it's a stereotype. We were just talking about amongst, women friends, like, men just don't get it sometimes, or men aren't as sensitive. And all three of you, and even like Jason, remember, he was going to write letters, right, to heal. And I'm just amazed. And it's not like it's a new generational thing. Maybe it's just personal experiences, or you just are rare because that's what happens to a lot of relationships, right? You just don't get it. And then it's that whole either miscommunication or I don't know what it is, but you guys just have it. Peter, what is your gift? Maybe like 30 years ago. When you
30 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
30 years ago, I didn't believe I had any gifts. So that was not my gift. That was a fallback or weakness, whatever.
Maybe a strength that you were complimented on, because sometimes we're not aware of the gifts that we possess, right? But someone says, hey, I really appreciate and then you realize, oh, it's a gift that I have.
Yeah, I'd have to say my vulnerability.
Wow.
Vulnerability, most men think is a weakness, sort of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But in reality, vulnerability is one of the greatest strengths on the planet. And you don't have to go 100% sharing everything, but you can start to share and it can make a real difference. Just be open, honest, and vulnerable. And today, I would say that's still a part of it, but my sort of a new term, business consultant I was working with actually pointed this out to me, but my heartfeltness.
I love that.
And in my ability to find solutions, which I'm really excited to bring both of those into travel, because I really want to make sure people are enjoying themselves, having a great time. If something happens, that they feel comfortable, that myself and the team are there to help resolve things, whether it's a canceled flight, whatever it might be, but to get things resolved in the best way possible from the heart. So I'd have to say those are my two greatest strengths.
Thank you. And just out of curiosity, how did someone, it's a learned behavior, right? Everything that you folks are taught, it's not really innate. So did someone, either a parent, or I'm just curious, how do you think you started out being empathetic or like a problem solver? Or I noticed vulnerability. These are all not something that you are born with, which is why a lot of my students, the dads are like, stop crying. You're a big boy now. Or, we don't have time for this. Stop being a drama king, drama queen. I mean, something must have happened to have the three of you. I think that's why you folks just cross paths naturally, even outside of Roundtable. But Keith, did someone, is this a learned behavior that maybe someone in your life impacted you when you were younger? The whole, it's okay to be sensitive, or do you think it was just from as long as you remember? That'll be our last question.
I think it has to do with stereotypes. And I knew what my stereotype was for a man, and a man does not show emotions. So it was overcoming and setting aside the stereotype to be who I truly am that enabled me to be free.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Destin, was it something that you always had in you, or do you think you were influenced by someone?
I think a lot of what we are today, obviously, like what you said, comes from, for me, it comes from observing things as a child, I suppose, and you go, I don't like the way that felt, or, I don't want to name it something as dramatic as trauma, but there's always something, I think when you're little, everything's trauma, everything's traumatic. Like even if you fall down, oh, I fell down and hurt my elbow, it's traumatic. But I think watching other people, observing like how people react to things. I grew up in a family of 9 kids and we're all adopted, and there was family trauma. There was drama in our family growing up. And so noticing that, and that's a conversation for another time, but being observant of how everyone in the family was affected by other people in the family, it made me kind of pay attention. And I really watched my parents deal with that and tried to figure out, how could I be a problem solver for them, or how could I like carry the weight or take weight off of them for other stuff that was going on in my family. So for me, it was it was born out of taking on some kind of responsibility that I thought I needed to take. And so I don't know. I felt like
are you the
I did have to
oldest?
get a little bit more. No,
Where are you on the?
I'm age-wise, I'm right in the middle, but I was the first one adopted in my family. So chronologically, I'm first, and I guess technically oldest. But then, I think a lot of my siblings look at me like I'm the oldest in the family just because I had seniority, I guess, in terms of like I was hired first. I had the most amount of experience in the family, but age-wise, I was right in the middle. I would say my older brothers and sisters, my older brothers probably are not as, except for one, don't have the same skill sets as me, aren't as upwardly mobile, I suppose is the best way to put it. But that aside, I think so I think it was just being observant of what was going on around me, and then trying to figure out, going back to the resourceful thing. I'm like, okay, how can I be the most effective person going forward, not just in my family, but anywhere I go, anywhere I touch. I think that's where that might be where that came from, I think.
Wow. See, as an only child, I just admire people with siblings and especially with large families. I think that emotional maturity, though, sometimes is learned because of your experiences, but also observation. That's amazing that at a young age, you were, observing, you wanted to help, you wanted to, just solve problems even at that young age. So Peter.
I don't have anything to say. So there's several things. Growing up, it was always my dad's way or the highway, and I got punished for things I never did. So I became very shy. That was my mindset. That was my belief. I'm really shy. I never raised my hand in class. Even at a party, if I saw a girl I liked or friends, I wouldn't even go over and say hi. So I didn't go to that many parties. And I got tired of that. I got really tired of that. And I realized, wow, being able to speak my mind is really important. So it's something I started working on decades ago. And then my first job out of college, I was a travel director for a travel company. I took people on trips they won from their job performance. So all top performers, all very high expectations. And there was always a jerk or a jerk couple on every trip, a challenging couple, and stuff always happened. And I had to figure out how to solve it. So that's, I think, where a lot of the problem solving came in. And then looking back on my family dynamics, I look at my wife Lori's family, look at my family. I'm not close to my family. My half sister, I call my half-ass sister. I'll never speak to her again, as probably no one else in the family either, including cousins. She's just not a good person. There's my regular sister who I'm not close to. My half brother I love. He lives in Seattle. My younger brother was my best friend. We lost him at age 39 to ALS in 2005. But I realized, being open, honest, vulnerable, being able to communicate and having differences in opinion be okay is vital, absolutely vital to any really meaningful, loving relationship. My mom, I disagreed with her. She got livid, no matter what it was, simple, important. And it caused a lot of challenges. So I actually had a picture of her out in our living room for a while after she died. I put it away. I couldn't have it out. I have a little urn with some of her ashes in it. That's fine. But so really the vulnerability, the problem solving. My family was did nothing really but cause problems with each other. My mom wanted us all to get along, but she just have us all get together. And then it was like this. You have to resolve things beforehand. So to me, if I have an issue with someone at this point, it's better just to openly, calmly discuss it, share it, bring it up. I had someone do this to me in a business situation about 4 months ago, and we were pretty close before that. We're closer than ever now because he felt comfortable and had the gall and knew I would receive it well, I think. And it changed everything. And I had no idea how I was coming across to him.
Wow,
So-
thanks for sharing. That gives me hope for my youngest daughter, super, super shy, super introverted, has not left the house, during the pandemic thing. And then now it's like, how do you get her to socialize? But, I think there will come a time, because if you force it, and that's why I love how you said, even though you, as a parent, I think we need to be okay to have our children disagree with us, but know that the love is still there. And I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
maybe-
what's,
And it needs to be okay. I mean, this held
Yes.
true with both my mother and father at a young age and as adults. It was never okay with my mom to disagree with her on anything.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, you need to understand. I'm like, well, Mom, I may never understand because I'm different than you, but I can accept that there's a difference and we can compromise or we can just listen. We don't have to get upset. I think listening to our kids and acknowledging what they have to say is huge. Instead of, it's time to be quiet. There's no explanation of why. Stop that.
Yeah,
Why? Don't touch that. Explain why.
yeah.
So they have an understanding of what's going on. Why is that dangerous? Why should I be quiet here? Whatever it
We're
is.
just talking about that. Yeah, the curiosity and not having, back in the old days, I guess, it's like kids were there to be seen, not heard. You were not meant to share, especially if it went against your parents' feelings. And now we're realizing decades later, that it can be emotionally traumatizing and then affects you as an adult. Then you
Yes,
don't
and
feel
I-
comfortable sharing. You fear judgment instead of knowing that, it's okay to disagree. But thank you guys. Wow, this was it was very enlightening for me. I think every time I see you guys, I really feel like I've learned a lot. I really appreciate you guys being a part and part of the roundtable and welcoming me in. I know you folks have had Mello, right? How many times? Did you just have her once or?
I think just once.
Once, okay. And then how do you just overall, how do you folks feel about the
Yeah,
whole, how
once,
it's
yeah.
progressing? Sorry? Oh, I thought you said something. So in one word,
I'm
how do
loving
you
it.
think?
No.
Oh, you are great, great. One word in closing, how you feel either about the Coach V program or how you feel that you've evolved in this, hasn't been very long in the past, few months, few weeks, how, one word.
Evolving.
Great.
Sorry, Keith, sorry.
Great.
Great, Peter.
Evolving.
Evolving and Destin.
You took my word, Peter. Gosh.
There we go.
Positive.
Positive. Thank you.
And I'm energized. I'm excited about the evolving. So it's really eye, heart, soul, and mind opening. I'm really
Great.
enjoying it.
Can we do one picture? And let's see. Ready, set, smile. Wait, let me just. Wait, oh no, wait. Let's do that again. My phone's acting up. Wait, oh, I think I got it.
Oh,
Let's
gosh.
see. Let's see. I love that. Well, I guess we have just a few more. Let me see. Tomorrow, next week is the 9th, and I think I'm gonna do the roundtable still on the, can everyone make it on the 16th?
Is that 2 weeks from today? Yes.
That's
I'll
2
be
weeks from
traveling
today.
on the 16th.
I will be on the Big Island, but you know what? I think I want to do a short one. It's only half an hour. I'll be at the Waikoloa. We've been trying to plan this trip for years, and then because of schedule conflicts and then the pandemic, so I will maybe I'll do an outdoor setting and we'll see. I can always use data or
We'll just
on the
meet you
fly.
there.
Yeah, why don't you meet us there?
Yeah, we'll just come.
Yeah, rent-a-cars now in Hawaii, I think they're like $200 to $400 a day. So
Oh,
my
my
husband, who works for Spectrum, thought in advance and reserved it. The company daily rate is like $35 or something. And they're like,
Wow.
oh, sorry, we have no cars, but we can give you, no, she said, yeah, it'll be 400 a day. And we're like, no, we're not paying 400 a day. So we tried to
I
have
don't
it
know how they're gonna-
credited. Yeah, you know what people are doing here? It's forbidden now, but they were renting U-Hauls. Tourists
Wow.
were renting U-Hauls and now they had to limit it. Like you can't rent a U-Haul for 24 hours, because
Yeah.
that's what they
It'd
would
be
be
cheap,
doing.
it'd be cheaper to Uber everywhere.
Yeah, that's true too. So what people were doing were renting their cars. But what would happen is they would leave their keys in the car for some reason and people would steal them.
Wow. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
crazy.
isn't it crazy? So yeah, so
Yikes.
now my daughter's moving to California and realizing, we told her get a new car, and she now realizes that used cars are now sky high. You can get a brand new car and she just couldn't understand like why, but it's because of what we're living through. People are
Yeah, it's crazy times.
crazy times. But thank you guys, and I will see you next Thursday, the 9th, whoever can pop on.
Sounds
Have a great
Be here.
day.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
See you then.
Bye, Dustin.
Bye-bye.
You.
Bye.